Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Combined Municipal Council meeting on Wednesday, December 11th, 2019. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Council President, I would request a moment of silence for the victims of the shooting in Jersey City yesterday and Pensacola last week after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I also want to remember a member of our audience here for many years, Julian Zimmet, who passed away last week, and he was someone who's been here for many years, always a kind soul, and it was really sad to see him go. So just want us to please remember and keep him in your prayers. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle. Here. Councilmember Deal.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
Councilmember Joshi.
Present.
Councilmember Lombardi.
Here.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Sandelsky.
Here. Adequate notice, please.
Adequate notice if this meeting is required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by an annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger and posted in the main lobby of Municipal Complex on that same date.
Thank you. So we have two resolutions of recognition. Councilman Sandelsky.
We're not doing it now. Aren't you going to read it first?
Yes, you got to read it first. Yeah, we're going to do it now. Resolution 680. I have to read it first. Give it to him. Whereas Hand of Hope Food Pantry is a nonprofit community-based organization which distributes food to the hungry. Since 1992, Hands of Hope has been serving this community as a food pantry, soup kitchen, and clothes closet. The Hands of Hope volunteers have tirelessly to keep the focus of helping those in need. The organization has strong relationships with different companies who give generous donations which provide simple yet vital needs to help children and families live productively and happy lives all year round. The following volunteers donate countless hours of their time for this organization: Jackie Gorski, Lisa Winters, Sandy Smithson, Sharon Burrell, Kathy Rockefeller, Charles Tamaro, Stephen Dennis, John Coletto, Patricia Coletto, Raj Chakanda, Rag Nayak, Jennifer Turbet, Michael Winters. Whereas Hands of Hope, located at 2136 Woodbridge Avenue, St. James Episcopal Church, Edison, has its doors open on the first and third Saturday of every month between the hours of 11 and 1:30. In addition, special programs are held throughout the year for this community. Whereas Hands of Hope staff members deliver bags of food to those who register with them at both housing locations in Edison. Now therefore be it resolved by the Municipal Council, Township of Edison, hereby recognizes Hands of Hope Pantry for their positive contribution and dedication to this community.
I'm going to open it up to the public. Mr. Diamond.
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert. I think this is a wonderful asset in the community, and it's wonderful that these people put so much effort into it. I believe I read somewhere where 95% of our donations go right to buying food for people, and when you look at what charities usually take off the top, it's a very well-run, and it's very good for the community, and thanks for their efforts.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Motion to close the public portion.
Second. Okay. Any council comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Quill.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky.
Yes.
Council President Gomez.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to ask Charles Tamaro and the members of the Hands of Hope Food Pantry to come forward. I hope you guys know that I called all these people here that are in the room today to come just for you guys, so. I know they would. I follow Charlie on Facebook, and I see that he's constantly at the Hands of Hope Food Pantry helping people. And I'm sure he's with many of you, on those days. We have a lot of working poor in Middlesex County and in Edison. And it's wonderful what you people do and the time that you give to help people that are less fortunate than us. And I am proud to say that I'm a good friend of Charlie, and that what he has done and what he's done with you guys is a shining light for our community. We're very proud of you. We'd like to thank all of you for what you've done, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. I want to give you this resolution, Charlie, and ask you to say a few words.
Well, thank you. First, it's not Charlie Tamaro, it's a team. And the team is always led by a captain, and our captain is Jackie Godusky. Jackie is a founding member of the Hands of Hope, which started in 1992, as you heard. And if it wasn't for Jackie, and I've said this many, many times, she does all the networking. She goes to the companies, and I see a lot of educators here. And thank you to the Edison school systems, because you are a huge help for our food pantry on what you do for us. And thank you, and keep up the great work. By the way, we do need toys for the 19th, so make sure you get out there and get those toys donated. 21st, okay, I keep saying the 19th, the 21st. But I've said this, that if we had to pay somebody the job that Jackie does, it would cost six figures. That's how much work and time that she spends into it. But, it's the team that works together. Kathy, who's there many times during the week, filling the bags with the groceries for our clients. Or it's Patty, who helps cook the food. Or Carrie, who's there, helping registering people. Or Raj, who's a new member of our board. And welcome, Raj, who's out there helping us too. And we appreciate all the work that everybody does and make this a great organization. But we're more than a food pantry. During the spring in June, we have a health fair. We work with JFK, Hackensack Meridian, and they work with us, to provide different services for our clients. The Jewish Renaissance Dental Bus is also there. Many different organizations from Middlesex County, Workforce Development, the Middlesex County Housing are there to help us out. The Edison Police Department, the Edison Fire Department, and many different organizations help us out that day. In August, we do a backpack give out and put supplies in for our clients' children to make sure that they go to school with a backpack and the things that they need to go through school. During Halloween, we have a pumpkin patch pick and for the kids, and of course for Thanksgiving, every client who comes in gets a turkey. And some years we've given out over 400 turkeys. Our numbers are down, which is a good thing, because that must mean people are working. And this Thanksgiving, we only give out 300 turkeys. For Christmas, we give out a turkey, plus the toys for the children. And then Easter, we do the same. So, it takes a lot to run our organization. It takes a lot of money, but, we couldn't do it without all the help that we get from the organizations throughout Edison Township. We also want to thank Edison Township, too, through the community block grant funding. We've benefited greatly from them, whether it's new bathrooms, a new floor, a new stove with an oven, doorways coming in, air conditioning, heating for our community room, an ADA ramp going into our community room, and it's all provided through the community block grant monies. So thank you, Edison, too, for being a big part of our food pantry. And I know Jackie Godesky wants to say a few words because she's, yeah, on the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
He knows I don't like to speak. Thank you all so much, especially for the Edison schools and the teachers and the students. You've been a big supporter of ours, and we are really grateful. And I can't wait to see the toys that you all send in. I forget when we started, 1992, thank you. In 1992, when I went to our priest and said, we'd like to start a food pantry, he said, Edison doesn't need a food pantry, you're just thinking of something that you don't need. And he said, go back and talk to God again. So I said, okay. And 2 weeks later, I came back and said, I think God sent a message and we need a food pantry. He said, it's never going to work. Our first time we had 2 people, then we got up to 10 people, and now our list is well over 300 families. So thank you all. We couldn't do it without you. Have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another resolution of recognition tonight. Clerk, please read.
Whereas Mr. Tom White, a 1998 Edison High School graduate who lettered in his 3 sports of wrestling, football, and track and field. Mr. White graduated in 2003 from Seton Hall University. He works as a teacher and a wrestling coach at Edison High School. The Eagles enjoyed the most successful season under Tom's guidance with its first team title in 17 years. He was awarded Coach of the Year in 2014 to 15. Mr. White engineered an initiative program to utilize Election Day to help individuals in need, a volunteer group led by Edison school teachers, a non-perishable food drive on Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. Mr. White wanted to do something positive that coincided with the holiday season by doing it on Election Day. It was easy to make it town-wide. Donation items collected at voting locations, donated to the Hands of Hope Pantry at St. James Church located on Woodbridge Avenue. Whereas the food drive was very successful, Mr. Tom White expects to carry the food drive to every election. Therefore, be it resolved by this council, Edison Township recognizes Mr. Tom White's effort on the food drive for the needy people.
Thank you. I want to open it up to the public for comments. Do we have a motion to close?
Motion to close?
Second.
We have a motion to, any council comments?
Yes. I just want to congratulate Mr. White. I think this is well-deserved. Honestly, you and your whole entire family have been noble servants to Edison Township for a really long time. I think it's about time we recognized you for all the work that you've done. I'm proud to call you a friend. Thank you very much for serving our community so greatly.
Motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Deal?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilmember Patil?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky?
Yes.
Council President Gomez?
Yes. Okay.
Congratulations, Mr. Tom White. This is really an innovative idea of doing the food drive. We always think there's a festive season, let's figure it out, how we can help the needy people. And going out of the box, thinking out of the box, and doing this food drive was a wonderful idea, and that's the reason we are all, the entire council is proud to recognize you for this effort. Councilman Coyle?
Thank you, Council President, and I want to thank our administration, our Mayor Tom Lanke, and our council for recognizing you. More important, it's great you're starting a new trend And the good part is, you're going to continue it every year. And it is open for nominations for anybody who wants to help on Election Day. But I appreciate what you're doing, and also, of course, you're at the end of your youth, and you're still inspiring younger people to get involved, which is important. But it won't be long before you're as old as some of us. And I'm not saying who's the oldest, but you won't be able to reach to the 15, 18, and 20 and 25-year-old, because you won't make a lot of sense like some people may think of us. But I'm happy to see what you're doing, and I'm proud that you're being involved in our community. And I look forward to this happening every election day. Council.
Thank you, and would like to present the proclamation and the pin.
Do we pin them?
Absolutely.
An official pin right here. That's like get it out of the plastic. We're always protecting the special copper on this pin. I don't want to reach into your shirt. Another violation.
He's gonna fake it out, too.
Would like to say something?
For starters, I am not as natural of a speaker as our freeholder. I'm going to say that right off the bat. For whoever wrote that speech that they read, that was wonderful. Thank you. Unfortunately, you did disclose my graduation year, so everyone knows my age. I'm also really glad to see Hands of Hope here, because we did this together. And like I said, it really means a lot to me that they're also being recognized tonight. And like I said, they were a huge help, and they were so accommodating. And if you haven't gotten a chance to go check out the food pantry there, you should really go out of your way to do so, because that place is, like I said, not only just a food pantry, it's just filled with like rich local history, and everyone deserves, like, should take time out of their schedule to go see what's going on over at the Hands of Hope. But as far as thank yous, I want to thank, of course, the town council for recognizing me today. I really do appreciate it. I'd like to also thank the Board of Education, all the sitting members, because they were very helpful in the overall process, especially to coordinating things with the schools, because like I said, a lot of polling locations, like I said, the majority of them do happen at schools. And then there's, like I said, the ones that also happen at the municipal offices. So I want to thank all the municipal employees that also helped me, open the doors and get all the boxes in places like the first aid squads and town hall, and like the people at Grace Reformed Church. Because like I said, there's so many extensive locations where we put boxes that, there's a lot of people that you got to talk to get anything done. And like I said, it's kind of a full process. I'd also like to thank every teacher that pushed the food drive and pushed the coat drive and really helped out, especially the principals in the schools. I especially want to thank anyone who donated, because they're the people who truly made this a success. Anyone who donated really did make their vote count. And like we were saying to anyone who helped pick up, like Andy Fresco, also 2 sitting board members, like I said, we were very close to cancellation, and we're kind of at life support for a little bit. But I do have to thank Rich Brescher and Jerry Shee for advocating for us and keeping the food drive alive. And like I said, we eventually do want to expand it like anything. This is like the foundational year where we learn. We ultimately want to extend it to both political parties and make it as big as we can, involving Republicans and Democrats, and making it completely town-wide, because that's the way it really becomes like a full success. And it was designed to unite the community, not alienate. Last but not least, like I said, I want to thank, like I said, all my ETA friends that just so happen to be here. This is the most comfortable room, I got to say. That this happened on this date. It was a lot of coincidence here. It's kind of felt like, everything just kind of fell into place today for me. That usually doesn't happen. I would like to conclude and say I 150% support you, and I believe we should leave these Board of Ed elections exactly where they belong in November. I feel like the town has had enough special elections, and I think, like I said, you got to put an end to that somewhere, and I think might as well start right now. But thank you again, and thank you for everyone, and thank you to the council for recognizing me. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the review of the minutes. Any comments? Okay, reports from all council committees. I'll start from my right. Councilman Coyle.
Council President, I'll keep it brief. I had a long meeting with our Mayor Tom Lanky in regards to our beautification committee. I just want to thank those involved this year. We've had a lot of great success in cleaning up several parks and also adopting the exit ramp on Route 1. We do have several adoptions across Route 1. Since we have an audience here, if there's anyone has an interest or has a company who wants to adopt a location across Route 1, this is a state adoption projects where as you get assigned for taking care of the litter patrol on or off an exit ramp on Route 1. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Dio.
Thank you, Council President. The Committee of the Whole is making progress, albeit slow, with our fingerprints. We have received some assistance from law enforcement in the pursuing of the people involved, and as soon as we get information that we can share, we'll be able to do that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Patil.
None, sir, at this time.
Councilman Joshi.
Yes. So I have an update from the library board. As some of you may know, for the last year, I've been at odds with the library board of trustees for a variety of reasons. But yesterday, there was a vote that decided to terminate the employment of the director. So she's been terminated as well as their counsel. And that happened, and it was a very heavy dispute. It lasted more than 30 to 40 minutes. But the most troubling part about it was why we even had the dispute in the first place. During this process, out of the Board of Trustees, 4 trustees actually got up because they didn't like the motion that was made, and instead of voting no, they chose to get up and just leave. And that's not acceptable. And I'm very troubled by it because we never should have been in this position to begin with. I'm happy that it turned out the way it should have. I'm happy that it turned out the way it did, but we never should have been in this position to begin with. And I want to stress the same thing that I've been saying since I've got on this council earlier last year. These appointments were mayoral appointments. And I can't count how many times I've pushed back against mayoral appointments, but we as a council and also the mayor need to start thinking about which people we are appointing to certain boards and committees. We can't be in a position where we keep appointing political hacks. I mean, what happened yesterday was an absolute disgrace. 4 people who are trustees got up and just vacated. We never should have been in this position to begin with. In the last year, nothing got done. And my issue with that is because the agenda that we should have had is recognizing the fact that our library system, 3 libraries, 1 bookmobile, which is no longer in service, we have one of the highest circulations in the state of New Jersey with our library. Highest circulations. We top Jersey City and Newark with our circulations. We, as a council, the mayor, need to scrutinize the resumes of the people that are on these committees. What we should have done, and the agenda that I would like to see and I think is going to get pushed forward, is with our $5.6 million budget that we have on our library board, I kept saying we haven't had any capital improvements in the last couple decades, significant ones, people would be able to substantively see. We have a surplus. We should be using that money and applying it towards capital improvements, expansion of the library, working with the teachers that are in this room. Those are the type of substantive things that we should have been able to accomplish in the last 13 months. And I know there are people that are upset with the route that I took, but honestly, it's the right thing to do because we can't be putting ourselves in a position where we just have political hack after political hack, and it gets to a point where it takes 13 months to get anything done. So that was my update. And now there's obviously, moving forward, there was plenty of people that reached out to me
asked me who do we report to, because so much of the staff was shaken up. And we've decided that, or the trustees decided that they were going to have the assistant director act as the acting director for 6 months with the request of perhaps an advisor. I'm not sure if that was disclosed, Maureen, if the former director would come back and be an advisor, just because of the amount of shakeups that happened. So that was my update. We need to be more mindful of who we're putting on these positions, because government just needs to run better than this.
How many positions were eliminated?
2 people were eliminated. One position was eliminated. One director's position was, the director was terminated, and their legal counsel was also terminated.
Thank you. Okay. Councilman Lombardi.
None, sir.
Councilman Sandell.
None, sir.
Okay, thank you. I have none. Points of light. I want to take a moment to thank the Department of Recreation. We had our first annual holiday stroll and the 30th annual Christmas tree lighting along Amboy Avenue this past Saturday. As always, they did a fantastic job. We also had the dance school come out again. I know it was a little cold, so I want to thank the children that came out and danced for everybody. They always do a wonderful job. So, and we had a great crowd. So I'm glad that a lot of people were able to come out, to participate, and make this a great event. So thank you again to Joyce and the Department of Recreation. You're welcome.
Council President?
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to make mention of the Edison Tower tree lighting, too. That was a very successful event.
Thank you, sir. You're right.
Many people attended. I'd like to thank our police auxiliary, the fire department, our recreation department, Joyce, for always helping out and making it a great event. And people are looking forward to that. And we did have the Grinch, we did have the crime dog, and we did have the Toys for Tots drive, too, which I think is ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I also want to mention that we will have the Hanukkah celebration and lighting of the menorah on December 18th at the JCC at 7 p.m. on Oak Tree Road.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank our Recreation Department for the holiday stroll, but also our administration, Maureen, and Billy Thomas from Recreation and Parks, and Rich Montoro for preparing Amboy Avenue. We had, every pole had new lights put on there, so the mayor had made a large investment that I think will last for a good 5 years, we hope. So I think it was a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Moving on to the agenda items. Start with the resolutions A through E from the business administrator. Any questions?
Council President,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask the administration on D, the resolution awarding professional services for environmental consulting. Is there a specific project?
That's the Mueller project that we're working on. This is just, it's actually grant money, but we crossed over a budget year, so we just need authorization to spend that grant. And a small portion of it is to do an environmental study on the parcel that we're looking for over on Langstaff that could possibly be the water sewer building.
And who is awarded the contract? Is it?
It's Excel Consulting.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir. From the Department of Finance, resolutions A through E. From the Department of Health, resolution A. From the Department of Law, resolutions A through D. From the Department of Planning and Engineering, resolutions A through D.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
the tree maintenance bonds, Maureen, could you walk me through the tree maintenance bonds?
No, but you can.
All the, I don't have the itemized list of the tree maintenance bonds, but I can provide them to you at a later time.
Is that for tree planting for the building projects, individual projects themselves, or?
This is for, so when a tree maintenance bond, at the end of its term, and the tree is growing properly, the tree bond is to be returned to the developer. And typically, there's, in any given week, there's a few of those that are approved as they come to term.
Just note for record, the project on Little Avenue, the Camelot project, there's probably 60 trees planted, and more than 50% are dying. I hope we can look at that before we return.
They haven't received final approval, and prior to final approval, the trees will have to be brought up to specification, and then a tree bond will have to be put in place for 2 years to ensure proper growth.
While I have you on the spot, who is the arborist that walks out to identify the tree, that it's still in shape to continue growing? Is that one of our inspectors? Is it?
It depends on the project. So for that project in particular, it is one of our employees, is major consulting employee.
I just want to see if it's the same person consistent. Throughout a lot of projects, this happens. And it just seems that I would hope we can have the same person check on the landscaping, because after it's done, once you release it, we're stuck with it as a community, that planting continues to grow. And then it never gets replaced with what was originally put there when it dies. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. From the Department of Public Works, Resolutions A and B. From the Department of Recreation, Resolutions A and B. From the Chief of Fire, Resolutions A through C. From the Chief of Police, Resolutions A and B. From the Township Clerk, Resolution A. Questions? Moving on to the council member of the Planning Board, Mr. Sandelsky.
Yes, Council President, we have not had a meeting. Our next meeting will be Monday, December 16th.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to unfinished business. We have ordinances for further consideration. Any comments?
Council President,
Yes, sir.
02059. Could someone walk me through what is the plan we're adopting? Does someone have a visual understanding of what's going to be put there on Oak Tree Road?
There is I don't have it with me. I can certainly give it to you. I think well, I don't know if I can give it to you tonight, because I think the office I used to occupy is locked right now, but it was, as I recall it, Councilman, it came before the redevelopment committee. There's a number of residential units over a ground floor of retail with some underground parking, and the plan has just been put in front of me. But I don't even know if that's the plan that was proposed. I believe the gentleman, and I don't know if anyone from the redevelopment committee can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the gentleman was looking to put senior housing.
Correct.
They're smaller
Correct.
apartment units.
Correct.
Yeah. Smaller apartment units with the idea that, you have family living in town. It'd be good to have a, someplace for, the older generation to be close to family but still have their own space.
And they'd have all their services on site, too, as far as medical and the other things, too.
Yeah, if I recall, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, there was previously a project approved, and actually I think it got planning board approval, but it was just going to be impossible. The parking that would be allowed on site would really not be enough.
That's true. This is the second plan.
Yeah, so this was the property owners thought that this was a better way to approach it, so.
And they're going to be doing certain cleanup on the property, too, because it was for the further, they call it, it was like they had acetylene and other things on the property, so they're going to be cleaning that up.
Okay.
I'd be more comfortable having specifics before voting on that.
You've got the plan. The plan's attached to the ordinance. I don't have it, I didn't go right through it, but it's here.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, moving on to communications. We have one communication received from Ralph Bucci regarding moving the school board election back to April. Okay. All right, moving on to discussion items. I'm going to start with Councilman Dio.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see so many people here. Council President, I'd like to take my discussion items to discuss Resolution 699, which I think is why most people are in the audience tonight. So rather than have everyone wait hours, I thought we would address it now or talk about it now. I want to thank everyone again for being here. One of the things that was evident to me over the past couple weeks is that some people knew a whole lot about it, some people knew a little about it, but I'm going to guess that most of the people in this room are here tonight because they believe that if the election is moved to April, that the budget would be defeated and it would go to the council and the council would cut and employment, jobs, programs and activities would be at jeopardy. I understand every bit of that. And those of you who know me know I understand every bit of that. And those of you who know me know that that's the last thing I would like to see happen in Edison, where programs, activities are cut, employment positions are cut. I understand that all too well. With that being said, how did we get where we are tonight? I want to explain this so everybody understands the full picture of why the council a couple of weeks ago unanimously said, hey, we want to look at a resolution to move the elections back to April. I think, or at least I hope, that most people in the audience tonight understand that the Board of Education elections in Edison and the council elections in Edison are not necessarily in a good place. The Board of Education elections, I feel, are in a very bad place. And we can go back a couple of years, starting with the racist flyer, which we're working on so hard to find out who's responsible. But the racist flyer is really a political flyer. That's what it was. It was a political flyer. It used a racist overtone to get its message out, but it's a political flyer. We had the Board of Education walk in a parade of about 10,000 people with a banner that said, Board of Education candidates endorsed by the Lanky team, or the Lanky team endorses these candidates. That wasn't true. That flat out wasn't true. I'm on that Lanky team. I never endorsed anybody for that. We had literature come out in this last election with the Middlesex County Democratic Organization attached to flyers with council candidates and Board of Education candidates. Middlesex County Democratic Organization never authorized that. That's unethical, if not criminal. Can't do that. And I said that maybe the coup de grace was when I walked out on election day, and on my door was a door knocker. On my door, vote Democrat. And it had 3 council candidates listed. These candidates, I don't know if they're Democrat or Republican. If I'm a Republican and I'm not for these 3 candidates, I'm furious. The fear years ago, and by the way, I did vote to move it from April to November. I was one of the people who voted to make that happen. The fear, though, when we made that vote was that if we put the Board of Education election with the council and mayor election, that it would become politicized. It would become political, that groups would kind of merge into one. And our worst fears were realized, way beyond what we would think. Like I said, we're in a bad place. We're somewhere between unethical and criminal. I want to thank everybody for reaching out to me. I received hundreds of emails. Many of you are probably the author. Well, no, I don't think you're all the authors unless you all wrote the same letter. But I appreciate the letters, and I am not going to respond to 300 letters, but I did respond to several that were not the form letter, but people who had reached out to me saying, hey, Bob, what's going on? Well, what's happening here? I don't understand it. Why would you move the election to April? Why would you do that? Especially you, Bob. Why would you do that? And I really appreciated them reaching out to me. And my response to those people, and some of them are in the room tonight, I said, help me. Help me find a way to separate the ugly politics that have infested our township, and they're ugly. Help me do that. Help me separate the Board of Education election from the council and mayor election. Help me do that. And I want to thank the people who did that, because they did come up with ideas. They saw that I was looking for a solution. I wasn't looking to cut programs or teachers. Come on. Those people who know me here know that's not what I'm about or what I would ever do. I was looking for a solution. I'm still looking for a solution. And I want to thank a couple of people who came up, people who are in this room tonight with solutions that I would like to move forward with. I researched this and I counseled with our township attorney. How can we do this? Can we possibly put legislation together, legislation with teeth in it, that would make something like this a crime by local ordinance? And I spoke to the attorney and I said, I don't want it to be a $100 fine. I want people to understand that we mean business. If they spend $5,000 on a township-wide mailing with false information, with logos that aren't theirs, that they would be fined twice that much, twice that amount. It would be a $10,000 fine if you did this. And I asked the attorney, where can we go? How far can we go? Because the intent is not to hurt the educators or the kids in Edison. That was never the intent. The intent is to separate the ugly politics, and no one, I don't think, can dispute that the politics are pretty ugly when you're receiving thousands of dollars in mailings that aren't true. The intent is to separate it from separate the elections so we don't have that type of thing. I want to thank the residents and who reached out and said, hey, maybe this idea will work. Maybe the idea of legislation that would make it a crime in the township of Edison to put, let's say, Middlesex County Democratic Organization on a flyer and your candidates, when the Middlesex County organization no way endorsed those candidates. And you put your little thing at the bottom saying who you are. We will look you up. We will bring you to justice on it, and we will fine you heavily, and I mean heavily. One of the problems we have with enforcement is people don't care about fines or we don't follow up on them. What I need is a commitment. I need a commitment from my council colleagues that that is a direction that they would be willing to follow and work with. If we did anything tonight, and I don't want to keep everybody 10 days from Christmas or the holidays here, but if we did anything tonight, people should understand what happened and why we're here tonight. We're here because we're in a bad place with these elections. They're out of control. They are either ethical or somewhere between ethical and criminal, and we need to stop it because, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot allow it to become normal. We cannot allow what has happened to become normal, because the people that will be elected will never be the people that you want necessarily. They'll be the people that cheat. And that's what we have. We have a bunch of cheaters cheating on elections openly, and we can't allow that to happen. I spoke with several of my council colleagues. I shared with them my thoughts that if we could come up with a solution to separate the politics, to separate an idea where people won't be glomming on to mayor and council candidates, if we can do that, if we can come up with a proactive, concrete step, if we can do that, I'm willing to take $6.99 off the table. And, Council President, at this time, I would like to suggest that we take $6.99 off the table tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Deal, I do want to follow up on or continue with your comments. And I think the key for all of us here is, how do we find a way to work together? And I'm glad to see that people reached out to you directly, because at the end of the day, if we say that focus is trying to do the right thing for the children, for the education system, for the teachers, then we have to unite and we have to work together. I was fortunate to speak to some of the board members, and I'm encouraged by the commitment of those board members to help us continue to work on this and help address it. I do have to say that I am highly disappointed of the way that it's been approached. I understand that we might not all agree, but at the last meeting, we had people and we had emails that came up and attacked council members. People who have taken an oath to act on behalf of the people. People who have taken an oath to do the right thing for the people. To come here and call them lame ducks, to tell a member of the governing body who's been serving for over 20 years that he should be ashamed of himself, that's uncalled for, unnecessary, and counterproductive to us working together. So my commitment continues to doing the best thing that is for the children, for the educators, for the system. And I will continue to do that. So if we do come to an agreement that we find something that addresses the issue, the most important thing is to address the issue. But to take the opportunity to attack people does not solve anything. So all I ask is, if we're all out here tonight to do the right thing, then let's do the right thing. Let's do it together. Because if it's all in the best interest of the children, system, the educators, then we should do that. But we shouldn't go and take the negative approach with it. Thank you.
Councilman Deal, just to clarify, the suggestion that you're making is to essentially pass a ordinance to make it criminal. Do you have the language for that, or we're?
I am working with Counselor right now. There are some limitations that we have to check with a couple of boards to make sure that what we write is enforceable and is legal. But the counselor did agree with me that it's something that we can go forward with, and that's exactly the idea. And that is to put forth legislation that makes it a crime in the Township of Edison to falsely advertise using someone else's logo. Somebody said to me, Bob, if you move it to April, says, what will happen? I said, well, I can't guarantee you that the budget would pass or fail. I can't guarantee you what will happen, but I guarantee you I won't get a door knocker that says vote Democrat, because there'll be no, I won't get a door knocker with council candidates because there'll be no council candidates. That's not the intent. The intent is not to hurt the Board of Education or anyone in it. The intent is to get the criminals or to stop people from doing this criminal activity. That's the intent. So I know that I spoke with council colleagues. They like the idea. If we can agree right now, this thing 699 won't even show up at our regular meeting in about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we're done, okay? And you can all not worry about the election being moved, okay? But as Councilman Gomez just said, you know what would be nice? We have a couple hundred people here tonight. That's fabulous, okay? That's fabulous. How about a couple hundred people helping us with the situation that we have? This situation is wrong. It shouldn't happen. People should be called out. People should be going to the Board of Education meeting and saying, you did something you shouldn't do. That's not right. Don't do it. And then you can vote me out of office or vote anybody out of office who steps over the line. Step over the line, you lose. That's the way it is. But we need to work together. I think Councilman Gomez said it very well. Look how many people are here tonight. A couple of weeks before the holidays, everybody's here on the middle of the week, on a work week. That takes a lot for people to come here, and I understand that as well as anybody. Well, help us. Let's work together so we don't have to be here, so we don't have to deal with this. Thank you, Councilman.
Council President.
Yes, sir.
I'm encouraged by Councilman Deal's comments, and I do hope that the council will take on this charge in January. But I did have, I had planned on voting tonight. I did have some comments prepared, and because there's so many people here, I'd like to just make those remarks. First, I want to thank all the men and women who came out to our last meeting, this meeting, and all the people that took the time to send the emails. I also spoke with 2 Board of Education members regarding this issue. The intent of this resolution was probably best stated by Councilman Deal at the last meeting, which is the intent was to bring integrity back to the Board of Education elections. And it was and still is a compelling argument. However, the speakers from the last meeting also made compelling arguments that if there's a low turnout, like there was yesterday, special interest groups could target the Board of Education and obtain power. There is also the added expense of having another election. After hearing all the discussions on both sides, I believe that the way to bring integrity back to the Board of Education elections is to elect and/or re-elect people with integrity. And the best way to elect people with integrity is to have an election where the most people will participate. So I believe that the election should stay in November. I will say, however, that while I appreciate all the emails and the participation by all the speakers and onlookers, I believe that all of you should be sending emails and appearing at meetings of the Board of Education and the Library Board where the candidates that were the cause of these discussions go there and demand better, hold them to a higher standard. Thank you.
Again, I want to add, I was planning on voting tonight. I was planning to vote no, so it stays in November. I'm happy that everyone came out. I agree with this suggestion as well. I think that in addition to that, I think that we should do what I had suggested earlier, which is the council as a whole should unanimously file an ethics complaint for that same flyer because they broke so many laws. And like you said, that one of the individuals was reelected, was also part of the group that got up and just left the meeting because they didn't like a motion that was made. I mean, I'm happy that everyone's here and active, but if you really want government to function, you got to support the right people. And, I can get on board with that, Councilman Deal. I appreciate your suggestion and whomever else contributed to that. So I support that. And let's also make a resolution to go after that same group. We know who did it. I think whatever their pack is on there. Let's file that resolution together and let's be united as a council to do it.
Thank you.
Council President. Councilman Deal, you haven't been on this council for 19 years because you haven't done the right thing for the people. And I agree with your points that you've made. We want to have as much participation as possible in these school board elections. Nobody wants to stop that, but we don't want it politicized. Someone told me a long time ago that the Board of Ed elections and the regular council elections shouldn't be mixed. This is one of the reasons why it shouldn't be mixed. And if you tell me today that this is something we can do to stop this and stop this free-for-all that's going on now, and using political tactics to get advantages over one person, it's defeating our democracy. It's not giving people a fair chance at the school board election. And that's not what we're about as a council people. We don't want to hurt the teachers. No one wants to do that. No one wants to hurt the children of our district either. And if you can assure me that this is what we will do going forward, I will agree with your pulling this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just so we're clear procedurally, what I heard Councilman Deal say is he was making a motion for the council to pull this 699, I believe it is, off the resolution agenda would require a second and then a roll call. So if that is the
And
pleasure
Council,
of the
if you could explain to everyone what that means, is that it would not be on tonight's agenda, that it is.
It would be permanently pulled off the agenda. That doesn't mean that it would just go away. And what I think I heard you say is that you'd be looking for council cooperation to take certain steps based on the research you asked me to do. But yeah, that would remove it, and it would not appear on this or any other agenda, unless there's similar action to what happened last time, which is, directing that it appear and then it be brought at that time. But it would just be removed pending the drafting and adoption of any legislation as you've suggested. So if we're going to proceed in that, we have a motion, I believe, Madam Clerk, and then if
Motion made.
Seconded.
Who's
and
second?
second to Council Vice President.
Okay.
That would then require.
And then, roll call, please.
Councilmember Quill.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi.
Yes to remove from the agenda.
Councilmember Patil.
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky.
Yes.
Council President Gomez.
Yes to remove from the agenda. Okay. This is now permanently removed from the Department of Law's consent agenda. Thank you.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman Coyle.
I just wanted to make some remarks adding to Councilman Deal's discussion. I support 100% of what he's explaining in regards to how the participation of these elections have come forward. And I was, right next to him when we discussed this, and it was all part of the political process of how the Board of Election became partisan. And I disagree with how that comes together. And also the fact that in November it goes from 8 councilmen running to 16 candidates with the Board of Ed to 20 candidates. So it certainly does get out of proportion. I would like to see some committee formed. However, it'd be hard to say that it could be controlled 100% because of the division of free speech and where things divide, and or how we regulate or police other medias that are out there. Because yesterday, it was just flyers. Today, it's social media. And at a glimpse of an hour, at 12:01, you can switch your computer and get in and digitally do something. So I would hope that we form a committee through the council president and look at how, through the council, of how we can regulate or have someone to create a regulatory person who can have oversight, because how a political team is formed and who is responsible. Because sometimes you look in the room at who's responsible and everybody ducks their head. And that's where we have to put someone's name on a line in a campaign of who is responsible and who is working within that campaign. Because it's wrong on how things are done and how people are written up about and how their family is talked about. It's just wrong. But some of this gets challenged by just classroom behavior. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And I hope that we can find a way to control it 100%. But without fail, it's sad that we may not be able to hit 100, but I think this is a strong move. If we can write something through our counselor that has teeth in it, and we can have a committee that has some oversight and someone who is in the election law enforcement to have some type of regulatory look at each campaign, I think that would be really important, because we can't just start something that doesn't have the right enforcement. And I hope we can reach that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir. We're still in discussion items. Councilman Patil.
None, sir.
Councilman Joshi.
Yes, tomorrow there's going to be a meeting for the census. Jay Elliott and I will be there along with the Census Committee. And it's going to be right here in council chambers. That's probably the single most important campaign that Edison Township will have in, or for the entire decade coming forward. I kindly ask every single person to help out. We're going to have, there's over 2,500 jobs that are available between $28 to $33 an hour. The representative, the recruiter is going to be right here. You can come, you can sign up, you can get hired right on the spot. It's a lot, it's full-time, $28 to $33 an hour. And it's 7 p.m., right? Yeah, it's 7 p.m. And to all the teachers that came out here, happy holidays.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Lombardi.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say that when I came in tonight, I was pleasantly surprised to see a letter from the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation indicating that they're going to provide the state with up to $525,000 for the road project on New Dover Road. So I just wanted to report that, say thank you to our state representatives, including Assemblyman Karabinchak, Assemblywoman Pinkin, and Senator Dagnan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Sandelsky.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to note that one of our frequent attenders, Esther Nemitz, had a procedure. Is she feeling better, Marie? Okay. and we wish her health in the holidays. Just want to go back to, for a second, the library board's unprofessionalism last night that Sam had mentioned earlier. And I think we've been having problems with the library board for, I don't know, several months, Sam. And they were making decisions without board vote, I think, going back quite a few months, right?
Correct, and hiring people.
Hiring
without
people
approval.
without approval. Like you said, we don't have our bookmobile, which is very important to the people to have. And I hope we're working on getting that back, because I heard that that's very, very useful for most of the people. I think it's one of the best things we have. But we got to get it back up and running again. And I hope we get it back organized. And I think that those people that left the meeting should be removed if the bylaws allow so. I don't know if you guys are looking into that at all, but people that walk out and are unprofessional and show up for meetings not prepared shouldn't be on the board. It's an honor to be on a board, whether it be any board, any township board, and they shouldn't have that type of behavior going on. The second thing I want to do is, I know, good to see you, Councilman Vice President, after missing 2 meetings. Nice to see you. I'm wondering, you're on the Water Committee. Do you have any updates for the council?
So,
Check your notes.
we have the, Councilman, I know that it is our grapes here. You can make any comment you would like. You have only last 2 meetings left.
Well,
but,
no,
we
one
have
more
the
meeting after this.
I'm talking. We have several the members here that were also on the same board, including Councilman Dill, Councilman Gomez, myself. So, if the council president would like to give the update, that's what.
I asked you. I didn't ask the council
You cannot
president.
ask me
I
the
asked
question.
you I asked
Sir,
you. These are my time to speak.
Councilman, you
Council
cannot-
Vice President, you don't show up for meetings, you don't show up for...
Councilman.
You don't show up for meetings, you don't show up for Finance Committee meetings, and now you're telling other people to speak for you?
Councilman.
Come on, Councilman. You know better than that.
Councilman.
You know better than
With
that,
due respect,
Councilman Patil.
With due respect.
Good to see you. Good to see
thank
you,
you for your
Councilman
service on the
Patil.
council.
Thank you to see you. Nice to see you. I guess you have no
Thank you
answer.
for your service.
I guess
4
that's
years
no
on the
answer.
council.
Thank you. Okay. We're moving on to the regular meeting.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman.
I know you're not going to forget to ask me to, I mean, I
I
know you wouldn't
purposely-
do that purposely.
Purposely,
I have
on your usual
done my
request.
best to end the year with fewer comments. I time myself to keep it at a minimal
And I
amount.
honor your
Okay,
request
right?
today.
And I speak to the counselor. Okay, and first I want to just thank the council president. I did receive the report on the redevelopment, and thank you very much to the counselor. And I'm only going to talk about one issue, and I want to thank the administration. Last week, we had a meeting in regards to recovery and drug addiction, and if you may have had a family member or have a friend or someone at work who's faced an addiction, this is serious. This is very serious. This year, through the Chamber of Commerce and some other organizations, we've had several educational seminars. I want to thank Councilman Zendelsky. We had one over at a church on Plainfield Avenue. We also had a few throughout the year. But throughout the holidays, addiction faces a bigger challenge. And for those who have someone in their family or maybe facing a friend, a coworker, Edison is responsive. Last week, we had a large meeting with the township officials and the command staff, and we are doing a great job at any Narcan when someone overdoses, and also what's important with the Narcan, that we have a recovery coach called to go to that hospital to give that person a second chance at trying to get better. But I also wanted to share, for those of you who don't know, we have a phone number, a hotline, through Dr. Bonnie Nolan, who's one of our recovery coach consultants through the Woodbridge Recovery Program. And that number is a 24/7 hotline for a recovery coach to talk to. And that number is 732-596-4199. And again, that phone number is 732-596-4199. And I wanted to take all my time, my entire 6 minutes, to just emphasize throughout the holidays, behavioral health, depression, suicide. There are many things that happen throughout the season, and it may be a jolly season for a lot of people, and sees the season to be jolly, but it's not jolly for everybody. It's a tough time for finances, it's a tough time for problems, and people turn to drugs and alcohol. And I face it in my family and so many others. I don't only just preach about this, I practice. January will be 4 years. I haven't had a drop of alcohol, and I'm continuing to stay with this mission. And the mayor has been in full support and administration of how important it is, drug recovery and addiction awareness. We've also spoke to our Board of Education on making sure that we have more programs in the school. I want to thank Keith Jackson and Tom Bryan, our chief, for what goes on in the schools to make sure we have a program. And my conversation with the mayor last week wasn't just about beautification. We talked specifically about drug addiction. And he made a commitment that we'll be doing more this year and making sure that we get out there and we create opportunities for people to engage. And also, so you know, anyone can come to one of us here, and your conversation is completely confidential, and we're here to help. And I'm quite certain you'll find that from anybody up here on the dais. I want to thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody else. We're now moving on to the regular meeting. We are going to start with the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council President remarks. Just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody again for coming out, staying involved, and willing to have a voice. You know, again, I encourage everybody that we stay united, work for the right cause, and work together. So thank you again, and if I don't see many of you, have a happy holiday season and safe one as well. So thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. Clerk, please read.
Ordinance authorizing a special emergency appropriation in the amount of $975,000 to fund accrued sick and vacation time expenses arising from the retirement of several employees in and by the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, New Jersey.
Open it up to the public. Comments? Mr. Diamond.
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert. I think I asked at the last meeting how many employees were involved.
26.
And what were the top 5 amounts in the top, and what departments did those belong to?
Police and fire.
And what were the amounts, the top 5 amounts individually?
Oh, there's a lot, Mr. Diamond.
I have 4 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, there's four or five of them. You can say that 4 or 5, I don't expect their names, but I expect their positions and the amount they're getting, and for what?
Well, if you go to the police, it's sick and vacation time. They're not totaled, of course. I have a deputy chief at about...
How much is the deputy chief?
About 30,000.
How much?
30.
That's the highest amount in the 975,000?
Not a lot of police retired this year. Yes, that's the most. The fire department had more people. There was a battalion chief. The highest on here is 165.
And have we done anything in contract negotiations that limit payout of unused?
We have. The new state law is 15,000. These are people that were before that law.
So this is the last time we'll see this number, or there's still people
No.
grandfathered in?
There's still people grandfathered in.
And how long does that go on?
If they were here after, upon a certain date, it's until they retire.
So if they were here before a certain date?
Correct.
What was that certain date?
I think it's June 28, 2011.
Wow. I wish there's work like this in private industry.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else on this ordinance? Have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
This is for first reading, correct?
No.
No.
Final adoption.
Motion to adopt.
We have a second.
Second.
Any council comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Deal?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilmember Patil?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky?
Yes.
Council President Gomez?
Yes. Ordinance 2059. Clerk, please read.
Ordinance adopting the 1696 Oak Tree Road redevelopment plan for the property identified on the township tax maps as Block 546I, Lot 37, also known as 1696 Oak Tree Road, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law.
Opening it up to the public for comments.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council comments. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Deal?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilmember Patil?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky?
Yes.
Council President Gomez?
Yes. 2060. Clerk, please read.
Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and by the Township of Edison, the County of Middlesex, appropriating $15 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $14,250,000 in bonds or notes, the Township to finance part thereof.
I'll now open it up to the public for comments. Mr. Scotia.
Walt Stoschel, 2118 Oak Tree Road. I noticed in the bond ordinance, $200 and some thousand for tennis court resurfacing. Has the town considered converting some of the tennis courts to pickleball courts?
You had mentioned that, so that's part of our ongoing discussion. This will be for the spring of 2020.
Because I played pickleball up at Minnieville this summer, and as you get older, tennis isn't as interesting as pickleball is because it's a lot easier to move around, and I think it's a good sport for the older residents, so, and the younger residents too. So if you, in the ordinance, if you look to do some pickleball courts, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Motion to close the public portion.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council comments. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Deal?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilmember Patil?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky?
Yes.
Council President Gomez?
Yes. Okay, moving on to new business. 2061. Clerk, please read by title.
An ordinance establishing the not-to-exceed salaries for certain officers, department heads, and employees of the township for 2019.
Okay, did I have a motion to introduce?
Council President, I move this ordinance be passed on first reading, published according to law, for further consideration and public hearing set down for Monday, December 23rd, 2019.
We have a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Deal?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi?
Yes for introduction.
Councilmember Patil?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky?
Yes to introduce.
Council President Gomez?
Yes. Okay, we're moving on to the public comments on the resolutions. Opening it up to the public. Yes, Walter.
Walt Stoschel, 2118 Oak Tree Road. On Reso 686, the census. I'm glad to see we are going to have a committee. I can't make it tomorrow night, but I'd like you to keep publicizing it. I'd like to see flyers, posters, and things around town so people know that they can participate in the census. You don't have to be a citizen to participate in the census. It's just the head count of the people in town, and it's very important. It's very important for Edison. It's very important for New Jersey, because if we lose it, we could lose another congressional seat in New Jersey if we have an undercount in the census. And it's important to Edison because all our federal aid is based on our population. So I'm glad to see the town is doing something on that. On 223, the Excel Environmental for Langstaff Avenue and Muller Machine, what are we doing at Muller Machine that we need to do a study of?
I can get you the grant application. I don't have that here with me tonight. We had started it last year, some assessment, and it's really just to spend the money. It was a grant.
It was, I can give you a little more information on that, Mr. Stoschel. It was the owner of the property was looking to do something, and I forget exactly what the genesis of it was, but we asked him to come in to see if possibly we could take it for public use. And the first thing we wanted to do was we went after HDSRF money. So the state is paying for the investigation. We want to see what the potential problems are with the property before we make any further decision as to whether it might be useful in the township's inventory.
Yeah,
so that's the idea of that.
It's next to the dog park. It's the property.
Yeah,
and
right.
I don't recall if that was part of the CIC site, if they had operations where Muller Machine had their buildings, but the contamination has been removed from the CIC site where the dog park is. It's the cleanest spot in town. So if we could get that piece next to it for public purpose, I think we could actually do a really nice park there. You could do more walking paths. You could actually walk your dog around instead of just letting them run in the park. The resolution also calls for $24,000 in others. We haven't identified the others.
Going forward for the next 12 months.
Would you have to come back to the council to approve those others?
I would.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the resolutions?
Motion to close?
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anything to be pulled? I start from my right. Councilman Coyle.
None, sir.
Councilman Dio.
None, sir.
Councilman Patillo.
None, sir.
Councilman Joshi.
None, sir.
Councilman Lombardi.
None, sir.
Councilman Sandelsky.
None, sir.
And I have none. Okay. Did I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Deal?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilmember Patil?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandelsky?
Yes.
Council President Gomez?
Yes. Okay, communications. Did I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to oral petitions and remarks. I'll start from the list. Jeff Bowden.
Good evening. Thank you for the time this evening. Jeff Bowden, 2 Ethel Road, ETA President. First, I would like to thank the council for finding a creative potential solution to the Board of Ed election. And so I thank Bob Deal, who I've known for a long time, and I know the people he was reaching out to, and I'm glad they were able to assist you in that matter. To Mr. Gomez, Councilman, I couldn't agree with you more about uniting. When I took this position, and I didn't take it, I got elected 8 years ago. I've been doing nothing for the last 8 years but what you have described tonight. When I came into this position, I had 9 board members, none of which who spoke to the association. And over the last 8 years, I've spent tireless hours along with the people behind me trying to work on creating a Board of Education that really works for the community. And quite honestly, there are hiccups. There have been fights on that board. There have been fights just like Mr. Josie explained on the library board last night, which was really embarrassing. And then there was even a fight here. which nothing was done to stop that for the public to see. My mother said, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I really live by that adage. I was part of the attack politically. My face has appeared on flyers going out to 10,000 people. I know what it's like, but you know what? You have to have stamina to not let it bother you. I agree with everything you said except feeling insulted over the 5 persons, or maybe less than that, in an email or so that appeared to be forward in nature. You have to understand, on the Board of Education, it's been a ride for the last 8 years. Okay, people are passionate about their positions. Some of the people that came up here are taxpayers, and sometimes you just have to take what they have to say. I look forward to working with every one of you. In fact, last time I was here, I really believe it's time that there needs to be a representative on sitting alongside that Board of Education. As Mr. Lombardi said just a few minutes ago, which is what I was going to speak about, yesterday's election, not in November, was political as they ever get. I tuned into 101.5, which I never do this morning, only to hear them gloating about how the 6,000 residents stood up and defeated Edison's referendum, taking pleasure in it. That should outrage every person in this community. Yes, some of their listeners do come from Edison, but most do not. So where are they now? Are they affecting every election in the state? Congratulations to Hillsborough. I hear they did pass a referendum yesterday. I think maybe the only one. But with only 6,000 people voting and 60,000 voters on your rolls, assuming it's accurate, that's 10% of the population voting in an election where $200 million was at stake. There's the problem right there. In fact, the problem goes back to when we got our funding back in 2001 or 2. We have heard for almost 20 years now how Edison hasn't gotten its fair share. In fact, we probably at one point were probably $30 million down annually. And thanks to council people, Board of Ed people, and legislative people, we've gotten a little bit better the last couple of years. But we're still down. And if you cumulatively add all those years of lost revenue, we would never had to ask the taxpayer for a dime, because the total of all that money exceeds $200 million. I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. I look forward to working with all of you. And our office is 2 Ethel Road, and the phone number is 732-287-4322. And I welcome any of you there any day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next on the list, Susan Campione.
Good evening, Susan Campione, 8 Schiffer Court. I did have remarks prepared tonight about moving the election, which I am obviously not going to go through because I appreciate that, Mr. Deal, that you listened and found hopefully a way that we can change this, because to think that the election, moving it to April, was not going to be political is a little absurd, because it did all start under a former mayor, and it's just gotten worse since. And yesterday, as Mr. Bowden said, was very political. It's just, we need to get ordinances, and I don't know, maybe something that the mayor and Board of Ed and council members, it's against the law to campaign together, and then they can't walk in something that they shouldn't be walking in, and they can't put names together on flyers because it's illegal to campaign together. But I'm up here also because my remarks were called out by you, and I am a taxpayer. I have lived in Edison for over 30 years. I have done a lot in the community. I walked in 90-degree weather from my neighborhood to get signs put up when people were illegally parking all over our streets. I am the chairperson for the scholarship committee, raising money for the children in this district. And you are elected, and you need to listen, and you need to be able to take remarks. I was fired from my job the last time when the council had to cut money. I still have not recouped the money that I lost with the 25% cut. So was I passionate about the fact that we might be at risk again if you moved the election? I've lived here for over 30 years. We don't pass budgets. And to not be able to take comments, and then you sat there as the president and you let Mr. Sandelsky attack another one of your council members, and you just sat there and didn't say anything. So
Wait, let me just clarify for one moment. Making comments, making remarks is different than attacking people. So
he just attacked a councilman.
Two council members started going at it.
And you
I
sat
asked
there.
them to- No, you obviously didn't look closely. I did not. But again, they're entitled to speak.
And I'm
I
entitled
cannot
to speak also.
Again, that's fine. It's a matter of opinion that I felt that you came in and insulted people, which is different than making remarks. So we're going to disagree, but that's my position. Thank you for your comments, I understand.
And just to reiterate what Mr. Joshi said yesterday, that library board meeting was the most disgusting thing I have ever seen in my life. And if the mayor is appointing people like that to be on that board, it's shameful. It is shameful. If people did not watch that, they better go and find it's on Facebook, because that was unbelievable. I have never in my life seen anything like what went on. And these are people who are supposed to be also serving the community and the children with the libraries. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. But I do appreciate that you pulled that ordinance from the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
That library board meeting's going to get posted by a resident that I spoke to, because if you wanted to understand why we're in the situation we're in right now, not just on that board, but in other boards as well, you watch the most painful, disgusting meeting ever run. That was the library board, literally to the point where it was just shouting and screaming and yelling with people. You couldn't hear each other. And again, 4 people, one of who was just reelected, got up and marched out in a public forum simply because they disagreed with the motion that was made. It couldn't be, I can't be any more passionately frustrated with the way that we continue to appoint political hacks to boards and committees, and then we keep finding ourselves in awful situations later on.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
I just have to make comment to Councilman Joshi. The mayor has done a great job on several committees. This is one that has had a problem. But I have watched this process for 30 years. I've sat in this audience for 30 years and watched our appointments. This is one of the few that we've had a problem on. And I think the administration carefully looks at resumes. I think we make the best approach. And some of the practices have been going on for 30 years. And so I don't agree with you, Councilman Joshi, that everything the mayor does is wrong. And every appointment is a political hack, okay? And I'm just tired of hearing it. So this particular situation could be different, but it's not every committee. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't say every committee, just want to stress that I didn't say every committee. But I did say, and I will say it again, since I've been on the council, January of last year, I'm actually very proud to have gone against or opposed probably the most appointments that have come from the administration. from the Technical Review Committee, from Office of Emergency Management. I mean, I'm not saying every single board is dysfunctional, but a lot are. And yes, I've said it so many times, and I've stressed to the council that we have to be appointing people that are qualified. It's really not much to ask for.
What are the qualifications for a board of trustee for the library board?
We appointed, there was someone who was removed from the library board of trustees who literally has a criminal background. What are we defending here?
So no, again, I think to Councilman Coyle is blame doesn't solve the issue, and to say that every position has been politically motivated, I'm going to agree with Councilman Coyle. I don't think that's the case. You know, can we do it better? We can try to figure out a way to do it better, but I don't think that the statement of people wanting to get involved and then not planning out doesn't become a blaming game on saying that it's a political hack move. I'm going to disagree. But again, we're on council comments, a public portion.
Council President, I just want to end it with, what I meant is, it's never the mayor's intention to put someone on a committee that's not going to work out. It's the mayor's intention to get the community involved, and he gives people opportunity to be on that committee. It's sometimes the luck of the draw on situations. And I just want to share that. But watching 30 years of appointments, watching several committees get together, some situations are unavoidable that we don't have people involved in the process who may have been involved or in an election or part of a recommendation. It just happens. And I don't want to stand here to listen to Councilman Joshi to believe he's going to have some cure for it, whereas when it's in his favor, he'll have his friend there. So careful when you pick at the mayor when you're not the mayor. That's all. I'm tired of hearing it, and I want to end it there. Thank you, Council President.
We'll agree to disagree.
Okay, moving on with the list, Matt Repnack.
Good evening, Matt Revnak, 2 Ethel Road, second vice president of ETA. I'm also a teacher at J.P. Stevens for 31 years. So I appreciate, again, the ability to speak. Obviously, like Ms. Campione said, my speech, or what I'm going to say, is a little different than what I was originally thinking, and I do appreciate you pulling it. It's one of the recommendations I made, if you remember, a couple weeks ago at our last meeting. But there are a few points. First of all, I want to mention you were correct. June 28th, 2011 is the correct date. In terms of the elections, and as I sat here, first of all, I do appreciate your explaining. I knew some of it. I did not know all of it because I wasn't at that particular meeting. It conflicted with the Board of Education meeting that night. So hearing it, I understand where you're coming from. Obviously, moving the election to April wouldn't necessarily have prevented what happened, and going forward may not prevent what happened. I think the idea of the resolution in terms of, or putting in some kind of financial penalty, et cetera, I think is a better way to go personally. And I know why you all said that, you're not looking to hurt the students, the programs, the staff of the district. But going back to that time in which, the state withheld $10 million in funding, I sat here and spoke, in fact, at that meeting, and a number of us pleaded, please don't cut. $10 million itself was huge, and at that time, the council cut another $6.5 million. You guys aren't all necessarily going to be here in the future. You move that election, you don't know who's going to replace you and what their intentions are as well. So, that is another ramification of moving it back to April. And again, as the person that does the numbers and everything else for our association, the board has overall been fiscally responsible. In fact, we actually wish they would take it to the 1.999%, which they never do. So they are trying to be, in that case, I believe, fiscally responsible. Second thing I want to mention, because it was mentioned about, and I agree with, the way to do this is to turn the election. In other words, get the people out that are corrupt and corrupting the system. No doubt about it. You see that now, and you see it on the federal level. However, there are people that have gotten up and spoken about these things at the Board of Ed meetings, because that was, inferred before. Number one, we were basically told, which is definitely the case, is you got to be careful what you say there as well. You could be slandering someone, and you can't hold someone guilty until they're proven. A number of us have come to the committee of the whole meetings And quite honestly, we're anxiously waiting to see what the results of that are going to be. And hopefully it'll turn out where, the findings that come from that committee will take care of these people that have abused the system. So again, I do want to thank you for pulling it. It is something which, for the best interests of the students, the staff, the community. And one final thing in parting. I happen to be at twice today meet with our new leader, Dr. Bragan, our new superintendent. And actually, one of the things I asked him, are you going to be there tonight? And he said, you know what, I don't think so. He said, I'm brand new in a position. I want to have a working relationships with the council. So as Mr. Bowden gave our number out, I hope that the council will also reach out through Dr. Bragan. We were actually in a meeting together for about 3.5 hours this afternoon. And he has what I think looks like a pretty good vision of where he wants to move the district for the betterment of our students and our community. So please try to work along with Dr. Bragan and the other Board of Ed members so that we can have a positive effect on the community. Again, like Mr. Bowden said, happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, sir. Just one comment that I want to make, and again, is for the purpose of reinforcing working together. And I've made the reference to when the budget failed back in 2010, but I think a few years after that, the budget failed again. And the difference was that we were able to work with the board to not have any negative impact on the operations of the schools, on the impact on the education. So I'm going to continue to reinforce the example that if we work together, we can achieve things together. So thank you. Mr. Diamond.
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert. With the tree bond refunds, if you build a house and I understand the process is you put the bond up, you put the tree up. If the tree lasts 2 years, I guess you get your money. So now, on the end of the second year, the tree is dead. They don't get their money. Do they have to pay more money, another bond for another tree, or now they just got away with not having trees?
The way the code works is they do not get their tree replacement bond back.
But are they forced to put in trees to replace the ones that have died?
No.
So essentially, they're just paying into the tree fund without getting approval to pay into the tree fund by letting the tree die.
But that would say that they were, how can I say it?
Michael, I don't think that's accurate. I think if the tree isn't there, they have to replace the tree and the bond stays in place for 2 more years. I'll check on it, Mr. Diamond, but I'm pretty sure that's the way the ordinance is set up. That if 18 months into it, the tree dies, somebody goes out, maybe we don't pick it up in 18 months, but we go out and say, okay, that tree's dead, replace that tree, and we're holding your bond for another 2 years.
We got 2 houses next to me that were built by the same builder. The one that was just built finished in the last 6 months, the 2 or 3 new trees are already dead. They didn't last 3 months.
Then we'll send somebody out to
Across
take a
the
look at
street, 1 or 2 of them are dying. So I'm curious, have they just skirted the rules in the building department and they found a way to buy into the tree fund
No,
without?
they can't pay a penalty to get out of planting the tree. They have an obligation to plant a tree, and they have to guarantee that that tree remains living for 2 years. And if they don't, they have to plant a new tree, and and the bond will stay in place. So we'll give us the address. We'll send somebody out to take a look at it.
Well, if these houses were all inspected to give them their money back, what, are we not inspecting everybody on a 24-month calendar who's got a tree bond?
I think what Mr. Okrepke said earlier is that before that resolution gets on the agenda, someone from Mazer Consulting goes out and takes a look to make sure the tree is alive for the period that it's supposed to be.
So we're not proactively at 24 months inspecting trees and saying, okay, you get your bond back. It's only if the resident comes and...
I'll leave that to Mr. Okrepke. I'm not sure exactly what the process is, but it's, if you want to get your money back, then Whether somebody actually goes out there, again, I'll leave that to engineering.
But if you don't want to get your money back, you bought into the tree fund. I think it's a pretty sloppy process here, sir.
No, Mr. Diamond, I don't want to get in the weeds on that. That's assuming that we don't go out and inspect. I don't know that to be accurate. But again, I'll leave it to Mr. Craig.
Can we figure that out
Mr.
for
Diamond,
next time, what the actual process is, please?
Yes, and I also want to point out that that wasn't discussed here in this interaction, that prior to the bond being posted, there is an inspection and verification that the tree was properly planted, the proper tree, and that it is alive at that moment. Councilman Coyle referred to a project earlier this evening that is still under construction. It has not been given its final C of O. Trees have been planted. He discussed that, hey, there's some trees there that don't look good. Well, prior to the C of O recommendation being prepared by our office, verification that all the trees are living and properly installed will first be met. Then the bond will be posted. Then the clock starts ticking for 2 years. So I want to point that out, that is a part of the process that, yeah, it's installed. So I just want to make sure that we're accurately portraying what's going on in the process, that a developer can't just skirt it and say, well, I don't feel like planting the trees and therefore I'm going to post a bond. That's not the case.
But again, if the trees are let to die, he's skirted. I'm being unfair to you because I've caught you off guard with the deep question.
There has to be an end. It doesn't go on it forever and ever. So if a tree is planted, the code says it's for 2 years. If after that time, 2 years and 1 day, if it does die, then it can't go on forever, and that's I assume why the code is written the way it is.
Well, again, I'd love to hear a deeper explanation.
One thing, and I agree with Mr. Northgrave that they would have to replant the tree, and I think they bonded for another 2 years. But one thing that's kind of weird here is that if the builder plants the tree, he's responsible for it for the 2 years. However, once the property is transferred to the owner, the builder has no control over whether that tree is watered, whether that tree is taken care of, and he can't even enter the property without permission anymore. There has to be some sort of end to that 2 year time frame as well.
What's interesting with the two examples I'm giving you, they both have sprinkler systems. Okay? So I imagine it's a combination of intent and quality of tree. Out of curiosity with the library board, how many of those appointees that we're finding so much fault with are committee people? I know no one's going to have an answer to that one, huh? Maybe that's the problem, though, that we need to reach out to residents that don't have an agenda, that are just nice, hardworking people, and find some that have some time, who have no political agenda, just want to help serve on a board. Maybe we need to start looking at different type of people. Maybe everybody on the zoning board or the planning board or the library board shouldn't be committee people, or, as Mr. Joshi was saying, political hacks. With the Board of Education election, if what Mr. Deal, Councilman Deal proposes solves the problem, I really don't care. But I am so tired of the Board of Education elections being political. But yet, if you watch Board of Education meetings, they are not run as a dialogue with people. If you bring up an issue speaking at a Board of Education meeting, no one answers your question. You're just turned off. So it's not a dialogue between residents. I imagine when the teachers are probably afraid to go up there and challenge some of the shenanigans that go on up there, that they're going to be penalized. So the politics involved in the whole thing, it's bad enough there's politics up there, never mind at the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Scotia.
Walt Stoschel, 2118 Oak Tree Road. Following up on what Councilman Deal said about the reforming the elections. I remember when I ran for council in 1989, when I filed my petition, I got I think I got a packet of stuff from the Election Law Enforcement Commission that outlined the rules of campaign fundraising. Do you know that that's done? Is that done? Maybe the clerk knows? you know, I think maybe some of our problems is the candidates and the candidates' supporters do not know what's legal or what's not legal. And I remember clearly being told, if you put out a flyer, you have to have paid for by on the flyer or you're violating the election law enforcement laws. I had to file quarterly reports. There was like a 30-day report, a 90-day report. I filed more reports with the Election Law Enforcement Commission that year than with the IRS. I'm going to suggest that we need to have a seminar here in town with the Election Law Enforcement Commission, maybe prior to an election or after the filings, invite all the candidates who filed and say, this is what you got to do. And then I would like to get a lawyer who knows the difference between free speech, libel, and slander, and explain you can't slander or libel another candidate and call it free speech, or else you're going to get sued for that. There was a case up in Bergen County last year where one of the candidates was slandered. He was sued, the other guy was sued, and the guy had to put an ad in the newspaper saying what I said wasn't the truth, basically what he said. So I think that would be a good step. It's too bad we don't have a League of Women Voters or similar organization in town that could give some sort of oversight to the campaigns. But you can't, there's certain things you can't do. You can't mail a flyer to people with a nonprofit sticker on as a postage. You can't do that. You can't do a lot of things, and you have to know if you're the candidate. But it seems that either they don't know or they don't care. They're going to do what they do. In the 1970s, the township planned Central Avenue Park, which is now Papiani Park. It included in the plans a swimming pool. In the 1980s, when the park was built, the pool was never built as part of phase 2 of the park. This is why the eastern end of the park has such a large parking lot. It was going to be for the pool that was going to be on that end. Since the late 1990s, more events have been held on the eastern side of the park, things such as Earth Day, the July 4th fireworks, and many community events sponsored by other groups. They're held there every year with thousands of our residents using the park. I think it's time that the township should build permanent restroom facilities and a storage building on the eastern end of the park. There are many people who attend these events who do not want to use the portable chemical toilets and restrooms that are provided. They would rather have restrooms with running water, flushing toilets, and baby changing stations. I'm sure that would be welcomed. So I think the township should do a study to see if such a facility could be built in that end of the park. I never thought restrooms were so popular. But if you go out to the park, there is a facility by the football fields on the other side of the park, but there's nothing on this side. We have 2 ball fields, a soccer field. We do all these events. We should provide for proper sanitation. At the November council meeting, I asked about Resolution 651, which was about the redevelopment area of Block 390, Lot 54, and 394, Lot 2. I asked what was the results of an environmental study of those lots, and was that study available? And I was told there was no environmental study available for those lots, yet the council agenda for 2017 shows Resolution 215-042017, and you hired Excel Environmental to do a study of those sites. Again, I will ask, what is the results of the study, and is it available?
Mr. Social, I did get your email. As far as I know, we don't have, I don't know if the study was ever done. I don't know if the money was ever spent. I did mean to follow up to see if there was something that I just wasn't aware of, and unfortunately I didn't do so. So I will try to follow up and try to get it to you before the next meeting, and I'll send you an email with whatever information I find.
Okay, thank you. This property is owned by the U.S. government. Was it offered to the township for public use before they offered it to a developer?
No, they didn't. Well, they technically didn't offer it to a developer. The problem is the developer is suing the federal government because of these ditches. There is a soil runoff problem caused by that property. There's water running through that property that's dragging soil and silt into the catch basins on the Raritan Center property. There's an ongoing lawsuit. In trying to resolve that lawsuit, they were saying, if you take on this responsibility to fix all these things and, remediate the area, not remediate, but, build a warehouse on part of it, and then there's another part of it that'll become just passive recreation space, not passive, just passive open space. That will resolve the lawsuit. That it made sense, certainly, to the administration because it would create revenue and affect, not affect, but both cause the remediation of contaminated property and end this silt runoff, which is not a good thing. It would basically rechannel the water so the water would flow in a more orderly fashion. So the federal government has made it very clear that but for the resolution of this lawsuit, they're just going to hang on to the property and figure out some other way to resolve this ditch problem.
Okay. And you have a file on this that correspondence and things like that?
There's a bunch of this has been going on since that resolution was introduced. It's going on for probably 18 months now. Just this discussions back and forth with the GSA, who approached the town about, can we get this done in this fashion, and Federal Business Centers, who is the property owner impacted by the soil runoff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We're off the list. Yes, sir.
Tony DePasquale, 2 Pine Street. So I agree totally with what you said about attacking people, but be better to work with people. But the question I have is, and I'm not going to name names, but if you're familiar with the phone app called WhatsApp, there have been 2 board members that created a WhatsApp group that's called Our Edison, Our Schools. It has the logo of the Board of Education on it. It says, this group is created for school board members to hear suggestions and concerns from parents about Edison School District and share what is happening in the district with the parents. The views expressed by the school board members are their own and do not reflect the views of the Board of Education. To get on this, you need to be approved by the admins that are running this, and they are 2 board members. What's also been happening is there have been people that have been, say, disagreeing and being kicked out of this group, and one is one of your own councilmen, Mr. Joshi, who was kicked out because it was saying that he wasn't a parent, so he wasn't allowed in this. So my question is are board members allowed to create a group basically with the logo showing that, is it an official Board of Education group? If it is, should not everybody be allowed to be on it? I mean, I basically got on and I had to change my name and my initials because I've had some issues with 1 or 2 of the board members who run it, and I didn't want to be kicked off. So just a question I just wanted to pose to you guys. I don't know, again, it's not attacking because I'm not giving the names, but I'm just exposing something here where you're talking, yes, we do want to work with each other. We do want the board and the council and the citizen to work with the Board of Education. But when you have stuff that looks like this, that the 2 board members are going to control who can go in and out of this group, and they take them out because that person is disagreeing with them. I've stayed quiet in the group due to the fact that I want to see what's going on in this group. So does anybody know the legality of this? Is it a sponsored Board of Education group? If it is, it should be open to everybody. There should be no kicking out if there's disagreements. This is what happens at the Board of Education meetings when sometimes you try to talk, their lawyer will try to interrupt you because they don't like what's being said. So again, I have no idea the legality of this, but it bothers me. And I just feel that something like this needs to be shown that, yes, it should be all fair. It should be fair for everybody. But there's key people that are trying to skirt things and trying to, make things go their own way. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. The other thing I wanted to say was, did you want to say? I was going to just say everything that I was going to say, but if you want to respond,
I was going to
that's
address.
fine.
You raised two questions.
Okay, go
One,
ahead.
can they use the logo? And two, can they keep people out when it's matters of public import?
Right.
I've said repeatedly to people here, I will not answer hypotheticals, but I
Sure.
will tell you what the status of the law, as I understand it.
Okay.
I litigated that very case in another county, and was ruled in my client's favor that they were allowed to use the town's logo as part of their campaign. In other words, not for a public purpose, but for a private purpose.
Okay.
So I think they are allowed to use it. But the second question you raise, I have never seen anything on WhatsApp. I have seen it on Facebook, where if you're going to maintain a Facebook page and you're going to discuss public issues, you cannot block people.
Okay.
You need to have, thank you.
So then my question about the logo, I can create any group I want and put the town logo on it, even if it's not a
I'm not going to answer
town?
hypothetical. I'm telling you what happened in a case
Okay,
I
I'm just-
litigated,
okay.
just to give you a sense
Okay,
of
that's
where
fine.
I think the law is.
Okay.
And the second issue is, again, what I understand, published case law on free speech is that if I create a public thing that says, here are the legal issues in Edison,
Right.
and then I try to block you because you disagree with my legal opinion, I would be forced to either take my page down or to allow you in.
Okay, well,
So
just
that's
so
just
you
the
guys are
status of the
aware,
law.
there are people that have said that they have been blocked because of disagreements on that. Okay, so that's just one thing. The other thing I just wanted to bring up was, and some of you were on emails that I've sent about the council and the Board of Education working together. And I do know you guys did meet once already, and I was told by a board member that there's another date in the future that they're hopefully working on, and I'm just hoping in 2020 that that happens more, and, especially with the overcrowding issue, with the bond not passing, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made about the schools, the overcrowding, and I really think that it needs to be a community effort with the council, the zoning board, the Board of Education. If we really want to solve problems, everybody needs to come together because everybody plays a part in it. And that's something that really needs to happen. And I really hope that, each one of you take that seriously, that, what happens in the Board of Education directly affects the children. And you guys make decisions that affect the town, that affects the Board of Education, that affects the children. It all flows down. It comes down from the mayor, and it all flows down to the children, who will suffer if decisions are not made correctly and if they don't see a community effort working for them. And the last thing I do want to state is the library board meeting. I was at it last night, and I told you guys a few weeks ago I was at a meeting and how bad it was run and how disgraceful it was. And I really, again, that meeting last night was disgraceful. And I really, really hope that in the future, people that are put on these boards are people who really care about what they're doing on the board and not just being put on a position as a favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, I appreciate the remarks from the last speaker, because what I saw, at least, when he held up his cell phone and I saw the Board of Education emblem there, with people advertising a site that if you go there, you're going to believe that it's Board of Education sanctioned, approved. To me, that is a perfect example of what we've been talking about earlier tonight. It's taking liberties, and it's deceptive. It's deception. And to me, I think it's purposeful deception. Now, Counselor, I know you said that you were involved in a case law situation. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't think anybody should be using the township logo. I don't think anybody should be using the Board of Education logo unless they are sanctioned and approved by the group, and I mean by a vote, a formal vote. If I made soda and I put Coca-Cola on my label, how far would I get before I'd be sued? I'm not allowed to do it. Why are people allowed to do things with these false logos? They're not false logos. They're actually legitimate logos being used by taking liberties, and they're deceptive. Navigating a computer these days, everybody here knows, it's difficult with all the pop-ups and everything you get, and you get to a logo like that and you go, oh, thank goodness, I finally found the Board of Education website. That's exactly what you say, oh, good, I'm here. I know, because I look up a lot of Board of Educations, and when I see their logo and it looks official, oh, good, this must be the school I need. So what you showed me was another example of what's going on here. Now, can we, Counselor, here's another question, because I thought the ideas were great tonight. I liked Walter Stochel's idea of a seminar educating the people, candidates on what is proper in an election and what would be accepted in an election too. But is it possible to, just like Coke will trademark their trademark or have their logo trademark, is it possible for us to trademark that or service mark that so you can't use it, or the Board of Education logo?
That's exactly the issue. It would have to be trademarked, and then that would restrict it in this case and in virtually every, and I'm not even sure, I am not an intellectual property lawyer. I'm not even sure that a logo or something in the public domain is capable. It may very well be, Councilman. I just don't know. And that's why I said I wanted to limit it to, I represented a client who used it as part of a political campaign on a piece of literature, and that use was sanctioned. That I wanted to limit what I was saying to solely those facts.
Right.
There was no trademark. Is it capable of trademark? I don't know. And to Mr. Stochel's point, the seminars you discussed are available through the Election Law Enforcement Commission. They are mandatory for, I believe, state candidates, and they are available for local candidates.
Can we make them mandatory for local candidates?
I think that's beyond your jurisdiction, but I will certainly look at it for you.
Well, you know what we need to do? We need to investigate these different ideas. I mean, trademarking, service marking, making a seminar mandatory. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, who should have a problem with that being trademarked? Who would have a problem with a mandatory seminar for candidates on proper election law? I mean, I've run for a bunch of elections. I'd have no problem going to see what is acceptable, what is proper, what is lawful. I'd have no problem with that. So I think this is another example of what goes on. It's deception. It is flat out wrong. Somebody's going to go there and think, oh, this is the Board of Education. Then they're dealt with in a pretty, from what you described, a pretty unethical way. So I wouldn't want to be dealt with like that. And they're thinking they're dealing with the Board of Education. Wrong. This is wrong. And this is why, we had the conversation earlier tonight, and that's why we do need to move forward, get the different ideas. All the people that emailed me, if you have an idea, please continue to email me with the ideas so we can put something together. And I want something, as I was just talking with Councilman Coyle, something with teeth. You violate it, it's going to hurt you. The purpose is not to hurt you. The purpose is to have you not do it, because it's out of control and we need to stop it. That's another good example. Thank you, Mr. DePasquale.
Yes,
Thank you,
Council President. Councilman Teal, last year this council did pass the resolution not to allow Edison Township logo for any public use. So probably we can use the similar.
Well, let's do it with the Board of Education.
It is trademarked.
Yes.
I believe, or licensed.
You got somebody out over there. Mrs. White.
Thank you. And I promise I won't be long. First-time speaker, my name is Virginia White, 11 Church Street in Edison. Okay, my question is this. You all know that our referendum failed, unfortunately, but the problem is there. We have such overcrowding. I was thinking, would it be possible for us to get Stelton School? I spoke to the mayor about this about 2 years ago, and I know it's not really being used, but we would so be able to make such good use out of that. So if you could just consider that, or do whatever magic you do to make it move, I think it would be very helpful. That's all. Have a good night. I know you're all tired. Okay, take care.
Ms. Maroney?
Beth Maroney, 107 Stephenville Parkway. I am a member of the Board of Education, but the things that I'm going to say tonight are, I'm not speaking as a board member, I'm speaking as a resident of Edison, so I want to be clear about that. I just wanted to say about the WhatsApp app, I didn't even apply to go on it, apply to be a member, because I knew they wouldn't accept me, the people who were running it, so I didn't even try. At any rate, I wanted to commend the council and thank them from the bottom of my heart and all the other fine people who are here from the educational system for bringing the problem to the attention of the town, for one thing. It was very warranted to do that, but in also having the wisdom to listen to those of us who begged you to rethink that and worked cooperatively with us in taking the resolution off the table tonight. So I think that that is the beginning of a great dialogue between the town council and the Board of Education, and if we can move that forward, it will be very, very good for all of us. I also want to say that I was unfortunately a member of the Unity team, and I did testify in June on the Committee of the Whole. It was a very difficult and uncomfortable night for me because I had to say things that I never wanted to say publicly, but I felt that they were important to say. That was the first of the corrupt elections that I remember in Edison. When I ran for the first time for the Board of Ed in 2014, I ran with two other gentlemen, and we spent $1,000 on our campaign. That's it. There were no flyers. We just put up some signs. We handed out some material to people at supermarkets and all that. $1,000. In the subsequent election, the one where I was on the Unity team, I don't even know for sure how much was spent on that campaign because I was not involved or told anything about the fundraising whatsoever, but I know it was upwards of at least $20,000. And when you're up against people who are raising that kind of money, it's very difficult for the average person who wants to run for the Board of Education to raise that kind of money to run. So that's another reason why we need to put a stop to what's been going on. It's just a very, very difficult thing. And again, being on the board has been difficult because of the contention. It is my hope that in 2020, we'll be able to come together more harmoniously on the Board of Education, be a better role model for the people in the township. And again, I thank you so deeply for taking the resolution off. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Conway?
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. I have two items that I'd like to talk about, and they kind of go together. The first one being is my real plea is that the township and the Board of Education, as a private citizen, I would like to see us work together more and more. I've been in the town almost 37 years, and I started going to board meetings over 25 years ago that I don't miss. I do go to township council meetings, not as often because there are conflicts in dates, and I was hoping in 2020 the two groups could get together so that we do not have meetings on the same night, and this way the board would be able to attend your meetings, and we would gladly, not me privately, have you attend our meetings, so this way we can have a free-flowing conversation, not only over the phone or email, but at meetings. And this way we'll be more transparent to the public as to what's going on with all the different councils in the township. I came to the town, I got involved, and I taught in the town, and I was one of those people running for the Board of Education that was honestly just running for the help of for the children. I did not spend $1,000 on mine and Carol's campaign that year, and we were on the outside looking in at that election that time, and Carol and I were these cute little puppets, but we realized that we were just political flyers that went out. It wasn't as dastardly as other ones were. So I gladly applaud the council for initiating, getting together, and seeing what can be done. And as a private citizen, I would gladly give you my 2 cents if asked. So I am reaching out to the council, and I would gladly also reach out to the Board of Education to see that we move forward in a positive way, and having a strong township is what we truly need, because the worst thing that I ever experience is when I'm out of town and people ask me where I'm from, and when I say Edison, they kind of giggle, and it's embarrassing. So I would like to see us move forward in a more positive way, and I look forward to working with any or all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Maureen.
Anthony Diamond, 15 Rodex Circle. I want to say kudos to Mrs. Conway regarding the town and the Board of Ed working together. I've been came to many meetings trying to make that case, so that's very encouraging. As far as the library is concerned, the library board, I've been coming here since last November bringing this up, and thanks to Councilwoman-elect Joyce Shipp, Councilman Joshi, the things that happened yesterday needed to happen in terms of, I believe, the termination. So that's a step in the right direction. As far as the racist flyer is concerned, is it true that we know who it is and we're just not releasing the name? Is that where we're at right now?
If I'll answer that, if you don't mind. We have a fingerprint, and it's in federal agencies handling the investigation at this point, so we've been asked to not make any further comments with it.
Okay. Do you plan on doing anything with it before the new year, though? Can you comment on that?
I'll be only guessing at this point.
Council President, I won't say anything that I shouldn't either, other than on a daily basis, we await results, and we get little bits of information and are told to wait, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
And final thing is, I just want to remind everybody I'm hosting a toy drive this Friday at 5 o'clock at Grace Reformed Church on Woodbridge Avenue. I believe it is 2815 Woodbridge Avenue is the address. I believe Santa will be there as well. And I'm happy to say that partnering up with James Madison Primary and their student council as well, and their students. So shout out to some of the educators there, Jerry. So I just want to thank them. So everybody come out. You guys are all invited to come. It's from 5 to 9. So again, Grace Reformed Church, 2815 Woodbridge Avenue.
Great
Thanks,
job
guys.
on that, sir. Thank you. Lady in the back. Miss Hennessy, I can see you back there.
I sit in the back.
That scarf covered you up.
I'm in the back. I decided I wanted to see what it was like back there. Mary Ann Hennessy, 20 Carmelo Drive. First of all, I'm sorry that Mr. Stoschel is gone, because I wanted to back him up on an issue that he made. I do not want Jaffe Communications hired again to represent this town. The reason I say that is I don't see very much in the paper that I can connect with Jaffe. I had asked with an Oprah for their bills for the year 2018 with the attachments to justify their bills. I also asked for copies of any reports that Jaffe Communications made to anyone in the township regards to what they did. I got sheets of paper that said nothing other than the fact that it belongs to the contract. Nothing to explain what they did in January through December. I got copies of their contract stapled to it the same way. So if you can't prove to me what you've done, and you can't prove to the town what you've done, you don't deserve the contract. The farmer's market was a piece of profitable literature that could go out. There is a section in the Star Ledger every week and lists every town and every farmer's market, and Edison never appeared once. So prove to me what Jaffe did. So I'm asking the council, I'm asking the administration to not rehire Jaffe Communications next year.
I'm with you.
Mr. Deal.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for what you did. I also want to raise the fact that I received this in my mailbox for the election. And unfortunately, it was telling me to vote for column B. I don't mind receiving literature, but it's not postage stamped. It's not metered or allowed in my mailbox by federal rules. The federal rule says, placed inside my mailbox is illegal to do so by federal law, restricted to postage paid US mail. So I'd like to make that fact aware. And I have no idea who put it out other than said paid for by Democrats for Edison, 1967 Oak Tree Road, Edison, New Jersey. So whoever it is, in future, don't do it, because it's federal violations. My big complaint, my really big complaint, was I watched the library board meeting last night. Mrs. Shipp, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking over the meeting and making it an actual meeting. Thank you to the ladies who went along with you and to the business administrator, because it has been one disgusting, disgraceful board meeting month after month. The gentleman on that board deserves what I call a Gibbs hit on the side of his head. He is insulting. He is rude. He will talk over anybody and everybody. I watched the one meeting where the poor head librarian was trying to introduce a new phone service, and he would not shut up. Now, if they are appointed by the mayor, I am asking the mayor to go and take them off the board immediately. They're disgraceful. For this to go out, not only on the township, but on the media, is another kick in the butt against Edison. People sit there and look at that and they'll laugh their heads off. It is not a professional meeting. In fact, I'm going to find out where I can buy a gavel and where I can buy Robert's rules, and I will present them at a meeting. That's how frustrated I am. And I did call the mayor's office, and I was angry, very angry. That's gone. I'm hoping that you all understand. This township is a good township. It's got its problems like everybody else does. But when it's got a problem and it's noticeable more than one meeting and 2 meetings and 3 meetings, then it has to be stepped into and taken care of. And I really thank Mrs. Shipp and the other ladies for doing it. Now we will have some semblance of order at a meeting. Going off on another question to the business administrator, if I might. Maureen. Yes. Got a question. When's the street cleaner going to come through on my street and get rid of all the crap that's in my gutters before the snowstorm hits, and then nothing will flow to the limited number of sewers on my street?
I'll check tomorrow. There's
Thank you.
3 street
Thank
sweepers
you.
out right now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, because there's a lot of leaves, because the trees took them longer to drop their leaves. So I really would appreciate that. Also, who checks the sewers?
Department.
Do they actually look, because I mean, I have a couple around my area that have a tree growing in it.
Well, they're supposed to physically check all of them each year, but I'll go over to your neighborhood.
Okay, I'd appreciate that very much. And that's it. Otherwise, have a good weekend.
Thank you, ma'am.
And if I don't make it back in here before, have happy holidays.
Thank you, ma'am. You too. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kathy Lynch Killick, South Locust Avenue. Just a comment, because it's been a very contentious meeting tonight, and I think that we all need to do better in 2020. We had our election, it was very good. Nobody insulted each other, so we were all very happy with that. So that was a nice start, and we hope that will continue, and we do need to clean up these committees that aren't working. But I wanted to say something positive tonight. Edison is on the map nationally. If you have Netflix, it's called Patriot Act, and his name is Hassan, and Edison was on. They have an episode, and you should watch it. It's from last week. It's called the Asians Impact for the 2020 Election. And they went to Edison. They had Cory Booker, and they said they had us on the map. So we're on the map. So they're all looking at us because we have one of the highest Asian populations, and instead it was 49%. So they're going to be coming back to us. So we need to do better. The world is watching us. So whatever we can do, we all have to work together. We all want this, just like the lady before me said, we all are in it together. We need to help each other, and we need to do things professionally and do right by our citizens. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ladies first.
Maria Orchid.
I'm Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. Tomorrow, we're going to have the Clara Barton Holiday Party at the Clara Barton First Aid Squad. Just reminding everybody you're welcome to come. Just bring a dish. It starts at 7 o'clock. We have a couple of people already answered, and they're going to bring some dishes, and it's going to be great. We have a joint meeting. It's between the Middlesex Greenway and Clara Barton neighborhood. I want to thank you for recreation. Last Saturday was a great event. While attending the event, the beautiful dancers were performing, and it occurred to say, this would be a great opportunity to have an art center where indoors everyone can display at any time. You don't have to worry about the weather if it's cold. Everybody can come and see a beautiful performance and something to look forward to, but thank you for the recreation. Friday is going to be the toy drive at the Grace Reformed Church. So that's going to be from 5 to 9. Looking forward to that. Saturday is going to be a dance-a-thon at the Edison YMCA. Thank you for the lights on the ramp from 440. I was able to see the turn. I was worried about that. The last thing I want to talk about is the serious issue about our overcrowding in our school system. So I really hope that we can get together with the Board of Ed and come up with some real strategies. We had the overcrowding committee, and there were some really valuable ideas that came from that. So I'm hoping that you'll have an ongoing dialogue and to do something. If you've ever been in the high school when they're trying to go from classroom to classroom, it's a safety issue when you're having 2,000 students trying to get into a certain classroom at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Shipp.
Good evening, Joyce Shipp Freeman, 41 South Main Street. I listened back and forth to everybody about the different boards and everything, and I wholeheartedly do not blame the mayor for different appointments that get put on different boards. I was thinking about it as I came up with an idea, which I used to do to my children in school, the high school students. I had a list of rules you must follow. And I think when we appoint people for boards, if you must learn the Robert rules, you must do such and such, just have a little 5 things. Therefore, if the people can't abide by the rules, then there could be a clause there where you can get removed from the board rather than everybody has to suffer miserably year after year. That's just a suggestion, but I think that if you are appointed on the board, you should have to sign something to say that you are honorable and that you will go by the rules of the board that you're on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pointer.
John Pointer, Roosevelt Boulevard. To repeat some of the sentiment in regards to the library board, I recommend people to watch it, but I'd rather you save your 23 minutes of time because that was a complete embarrassment. I do have a question, though. There was an attorney at the meeting, correct?
Yes. Who up and left?
And he is being paid for his time there, if I'm not mistaken?
So they bill afterwards, and I know the suggestion.
So we won't get paid, we might get billed the full hour, but not past that.
The legal counsel that was retained decided to get up and leave the meeting before it
I
actually
watched
ended.
it, so
Yeah.
that's
So
why I'm
just in
recommending
case-
people not watch it, because it was
Just in
painful.
case anyone else didn't watch it. So that's what happened, and I know I had a lot of people ask me, is this person going to still get paid for that, for walking out of a meeting? And I don't have the answer to that because I am the liaison, the council liaison, but I do know that that was made aware to the other trustees, and they're going to consider whether that, that should be covered or not.
Two questions. One in regards to the library board. Can the term limits be reduced down from the current 5-year terms that is per ordinance? And then the second question I have is in regards to COA. To my understanding, we are responsible outside of this round obligation for more units from 2025 to 2035 and 2035 to 2045, approximately 610 per decade, in addition to the 1310 that is coming about from this round. Am I mistaken in those numbers?
I don't have the exact numbers on COA, but the subsequent rounds, I mean, I think candidly, I think that's more almost speculation at this point as to what it's going to be. The COA problem, despite what the current state of the law is, the COA problem has got to be solved.
No, I
And
understand.
just dictating, saying, 10 years from now or 20 years from now, you're going to need X number of units. There's a whole lot of things that could change between then and now.
I'm aware of the calculations that go into it, and the 610 number, just for reference, is from the COA agreement. So that's what I'm basing off my numbers in. And the reason why I bring that up is people talk about overdevelopment and overcrowding. Well, the township is legally obligated to provide these units over the next 2 decades. So I feel like we have our hands tied. And then if you can kind of address the term limits on the library board trustees, if that's even an option.
Yeah, I would need to just double check, but I'm pretty sure that the terms are statutory, so it's beyond the jurisdiction of the council.
Okay. All right, I appreciate your time. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna start my time until I get to the podium. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, the person forgot Kwanzaa. Congratulations, Coyle. I'll start my time until I'm up here.
Crystal, 14 Fox Road. Thank you, Deal, for being the first member on the town council to admit they were campaign flyers disguised as racial flyers. Good job. 2/3 of the IJL team, who Democrats promoted, showed their true colors 2 library meetings in a row. I was going to ask who hired them, but they're mayoral appointments, which makes them friends of the Democrats. The PAC, People for Progress, we heard that many times before. Nobody mentioned that they paid $5,000 for postage stamps. Was Mayor Lanke's PAC? Did anyone ever mention People for Progress was Mayor Lanke's PAC, or did we just keep calling it People for Progress? No answer? Okay. You can't censor anybody on social media, Twitter versus Trump. So whoever the BOE they censored, even on a WhatsApp group, go ahead and sue them. Can the committee, this is to North Grave, can committee people censor you as well? Can I sue them? Twitter versus Trump.
Sir, I'm not going to answer hypothetical legal questions.
Well, it's not hypothetical, it happened, so I'm
You're
asking.
asking me for legal advice on whether you can do something, and that's, first of all, it's hypothetical. Second of all, my client here is the Township of Edison. While I recognize that, you have certain questions, and I try to answer as many questions as I can, this would be giving you personal legal advice, sir. And
Okay,
that's
no problem.
unadvisable.
No problem. These people like to run away from scrutiny, and then they block people. The Edison Democratic Organization logo was endorsed. The Middlesex County Democratic Organization logo was on their flyers. And I was told that it was hijacked. There was a YouTube video made claiming it was hijacked. I don't believe that because one of the council people also put it up on their website. I'm not going to mention any names. It's a holiday season, so I'm going to be nice today. Do we have a date for the Committee of the Whole?
We do not currently.
Don't have no? Oh, Sandelsky, keep attacking people. I don't care what anyone says. This is America. You have the right to freedom. You pump me up. I love you. Keep attack anybody you want. I'll endorse that. Where was I? Oh, do we have a list of the people who are testifying?
One more time, I'm sorry.
Do we have a list of the people who are testifying at the Committee of the Whole?
For the next one, we do not yet.
No? Okay, I want to denounce Neville Aristani. He's the male that was on the library board. He doesn't know how to treat women. He's a scumbag. They forgot to call Neville Aristani.
Hold on. Sir, we've been over this.
Oh, come on. Other people said crap up here, and you didn't stop
Use
them.
that podium to attack people. I'm
Okay,
trying to ignore
okay.
you.
All right.
Really, don't use that podium to attack people.
Okay, no problem. I'm not the one who takes photos with Joe Biden. I'm just saying. Yeah, so the way Neville acted last night, it's despicable. Who hired him? How many years ago was he hired?
Not sure what his term is.
Solanke hired him. Yeah, big disgrace. You guys endorsed him. Just don't forget, you guys endorsed 2/3 of the people that walked up and went out the library board. Maybe not everyone up there, but some of you did. Some of you did. So, you guys also said, the whole room is filled with teachers. You said you're going to move the elections to November. I recall after the BOE mess, I'm not going to mention any names. I remember the person who said it, and maybe another person after that. You guys were the one who said you want to move it to April. Now we have a whole bunch of teachers in here, and you want to move it back to November again. You guys should stick to what you say. Just stick to it. Don't keep flip-flopping. Oh, Joyce, what's up? I love you, Joyce. Miss Ruane, I saw you in the library meeting. They pissed me off, too.
Language.
Oh, about the fingerprints. You said a week ago you were going to tell us about the fingerprints yesterday. You said you were going to tell us on September the 10th. You posted it. The post was taken down or it was edited to whatever. When are we going to know about the fingerprints?
It's currently being handled by a federal agency. We cannot make any further comments on it.
I want to know who the man from New York is. I really want to know who this guy is. Can you tell all the residents his name?
No further comments on that, sir.
No further comments on that. Okay. Coyle, did I congratulate you yet? I did? All right. God bless you, Coyle. Oh, shit. Nobody's going to kill the deer, neither. Whoever promotes killing the deer, kick them out of here the way Northgrave attacks me. Kick them out of here. The historical board. There's supposed to be two people chosen by the mayor, and then the other 5 are empty. The mayor only chose 1 person. Tell Mayor Lanke to choose me for the second spot. He has to choose a second person. It's left empty. Will you guys do that for me? Patil will do it for me.
Send your application in because those boards are appointed every
Oh, yeah?
year. So send your application.
I love you. Where do I get this application, Patil?
Application is available in the clerk's office. And it's
Online?
also online. You can search it, it's also online.
All right. I hope we don't talk anymore about idling trucks and plastic straws anymore. Because it's all verbal diarrhea. All of it.
Thank you, sir.
I'll move myself.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Motion to close?
The rebuttal. First-time speakers.
Brett Baker, 140 Grandview Avenue. I've been told I need to talk slower, but I'm going to try and cover a lot tonight. So first, it snowed the other day, so just question at the top of the hill on Grandview, what do we do, what do I do as a resident and for my district when cars don't move, when the town says cars need to move so that the street can get plowed? Any guidance from the town? Just so I can be prepared.
I think we gotta call it into police headquarters. They'll set patrol out there.
Cool, great. Lovely. Second, and I know what Mr. Northgrave is going to say, so I'll just ask it because I'm sure there's others thinking in here. But since we seem to have taken such a vested interest in the Board of Education recently, would love to just hear publicly how folks voted yesterday. No. Sorry, just to be clear, not the town, just the town council members who feel like they care so much about the Board of Education and like to sit silently as the rest of the Board of Education sort of struggles, and all of a sudden we feel like we need to take a victory lap. So here's, I guess we'll just sit silently as that question gets asked. I came tonight to speak out against moving the election to April, so Mr. Deal, thank you for pulling that back. Totally disagreed with it. But I find myself tonight wondering if I'm insane. I moved to Edison in 2016 because of just a terrible comment, and I got involved in Board of Education meetings because of a terrible comment a Board of Ed member made about a former principal. And I sat at Board of Ed meetings and watched them fight. And then I came here and I watched you all fight. And I watched tonight sort of this like moment where I was like, oh, I think we've got it. I think we're close. I really think we're close. We pulled 699 back. It's sort of the appeal of the greater good, and let's treat everybody with respect, and let's be good. And then, by golly, we just turned right back around, and we just did it right again 20 minutes later, didn't we, Mr. Sandelsky? So here's the thing. I'm going to ask that we realize that, like, people are watching when you guys say one thing and do something completely different again, and just stick with what you're saying. If you want the good, and I get you called for order, Mr. Gomez, and I appreciate it, but you can't through you, Mr. Sandusky can't sit here and publicly say, we need to treat people better, and we must be good, and then just flip it around. People are watching, we're growing tired, and I just ask for just realization that people are watching. Certain members of this community say one thing, flip it around and do the exact opposite 10, 15, 20 minutes later. We haven't even left the calendar day yet. And so just please be aware of that. And last, because I won't be here on the 23rd, Mr. Sandelsky, Mr. Lombardi, thank you for your service. And as the fiscal year closes, guys, can we please fix the dice? The things are still broken from the last time I was here. So thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Rebuttal?
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. It's not a rebuttal, it's just I forgot something that I didn't say when I got up the last time. There are many residents in the town that have hearing impairments, and I would request if we could possibly have closed caption for those residents that watch Channel 15. I know they have recently done it for the Board of Education ESN channel, so I implore to ask you to do the same, which allows more residents to see what goes on at the meetings, to make more people aware of what's going on in the township, because it's really depressing when people come back and say, I knew nothing about it. Whereas if we reach out to as many residents as we can to make them educated as to what's going on in the town, the better off we'll be. So if there's some way we can include closed caption, I know many residents would truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll certainly look into it.
Yep, that request was sent to ADA last.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Motion to close the public portion.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a meeting stands adjourned.